Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along to our panel, which today is called Distribution Platforms That Drive Discovery and How to Get Some of Their Attention. Hopefully, it's going to be of use to some of you out there. Basically, it's all about getting your game and app noticed on the digital marketplaces. This may or may not come down to getting that mysterious and elusive featured slot. Hopefully, our panel members today can share their experience and knowledge to help prevent your game getting lost in what is an increasingly competitive mobile market. Okay, so could you guys please briefly introduce yourselves to the audience?
Hi, I'm Makhdumi. I'm part of the Google Play Apps and Games business development team, where I work with specifically developers of educational apps and games for children to get those into the hands of kids, whether they're at school or at home.
Hi, my name is Rob Simister, and I'm the business development lead in the EMEA marketplace, and I principally work with our platform partners.
Hi, my name is Mike Chang. I head up investments and acquisitions for NCSoft West, part of NCSoft, a large Korean company. I used to do this for Electronic Arts as well for 3 years.
Okay, so the issue we're looking at and we're going to address, is how to get attention to your game or app on the key distribution platforms, be that the iOS App Store, Google Play, or one of the Asian Android marketplaces. So I'll start off by asking, how important is getting a feature position in finding success on those platforms?
Oh, come on.
Somebody?
Yeah, very.
Okay. Thanks for your insight, Rob.
That's a pleasure. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really, really important to do everything you can to get as high up the deck with the platform partners as you possibly can. And then one thing I would say as well, which we'll probably explore a bit throughout this talk, is that there is no magic wand or silver bullet. It is something which is multifaceted in making this happen. And we're not going to be able on this panel say to you, if you do this, you will get a feature. So one thing to bear in mind, a lot of what we're talking about now will be, stuff that goes together. There's lots of different pieces to the win of getting a feature slot.
So, I do work in investing in acquiring companies. One of the things that I try and do when I work with these companies is understand whether they do truly know how to work with Apple and Google. Do they put themselves in the minds of editorial staff, featuring staff? Do they understand what that selection means to them? To give you some numbers, some of the companies that we deal with see, not on editor's choice, but one level below, install rates of 500, 600,000 downloads potentially for kind of second tier featuring. That's an amazing amount of free downloads, money you don't have to spend on advertising, incredibly important for success.
I was going to say, I'll just add to that. I think you've got to treat it that way, in that the platform partners that you want to work with should be treated with that sort of respect, and they can really make a big difference to you. And it's a very powerful thing that they could potentially, behest to your app. So they need to be treated with a lot of respect, and that's not just because I'm sitting next to somebody from Google. That's just generally, that's common sense.
So how do you go about building those relationships with the platform holders?
Yeah, well, this is where we get into the magic wand question, really.
Maybe we'll do a little cheating here. A lot of folks in the audience have to deal with this issue. How many of you know Google or Apple representatives? How many of you deal with them on a day-to-day basis? We'd love to ask you, what do you think they care most about, if you had to guess? Or if you know, what do you think they care most about to pick who they want to partner with and who they think they should help? Experience? Yeah. Quality. Okay.
That's the right answer.
Okay. Devices. So obviously, Google and Apple make a lot of money on devices. Why do they, what do they care about your products?
I think what you've got to look at is, and it's to some extent, we're dealing in the games business. I'm lucky enough to have actually existed in another life outside of games. And there's, these are all basic tenets, really, of how you work with a partner or customer or a key relationship that you need to do business with. And I suppose the one thing which I would always implore you to do is to think of what's in it for me, from the perspective of your partner. What's in it for them, should we say? What your game is beautiful. Everybody's game is the best game. All right, everybody's baby is beautiful. We all know this. But you've got to look at it from the perspective of the platform holder. what's going to be in it for them, why should they feature your game. And I think if you start to think that way, then you perhaps get a better handle on how you can approach working with them.
So kind of putting on the other hat and saying what is in it for us or them or whoever. I think the key thing here is, someone mentioned quality, and that's very true. At the end of the day, featuring is just one element of discovery, right? And how do you get your app or game discovered in the store and in front of users? You really need to first build something that is high quality that people like. So as you're testing it with your alpha and beta users, getting them to leave good reviews, using your social channels to get word out there and drive traffic to your game, that is really going to cause it to go up in sort of installs and engagement and metrics that we look at that also then help it feature up high in search results. So really building that quality game that people care about is the first and most important step, and everything else follows, and it gets our attention because featuring and merchandising at the end of the day is putting the right thing in front of the right person at the right time. So showing that you have the right thing is the best thing to do.
From speaking to a few people over the past few days, it's been a common thread that developers sometimes forget the type of marketing they can do that doesn't actually cost them any money. Would you say that's an important way of getting your head start?
Oh, yeah. I think there was a Blitz study or something that showed for 95% of games actually were driven by, videos, not even going to game review sites or developers' websites, but watching YouTube videos on gameplay, on game trailers, in fact, even user-generated videos. And so there's a lot of social channels like that. Also, putting, for example, the Google Play badge on your site, which gets people directly to your app in the store. Another thing, if you are a developer who has multiple apps, using free house ads to cross-promote between your apps and your games, because someone who knows your game is going to have a higher propensity to want to download more of them. So there's a lot of things one can do, just for free to build up that traffic and build up that channel to get traffic to your, to get people to download your game.
Okay, but going back to the featuring, Shazi, I mean, you were in a good position to help us out a little bit here. Being part of the core Google Play team, can you give us some insight into how the featuring process works at Google Play?
So I'm trying to think of how much sort of I can share on that. I mean, obviously, we have an editorial team, and the business development team works closely with them. We want to make sure we get, again, back to the key tenet, the right content in front of the right user at the right time. So, for example, if it's a thematic campaign, so it's back to school, and we obviously want to feature a lot of apps and games that make sense for school, or if it's the holidays, or if it's Halloween, or just you want to be very relevant for the user, and then we put together clusters, we put together collections, we do a lot of marketing around those. So I would say, things like that are ways in which to get discovered. And then also, if we are doing something where you have, like Android Wear or TV, or some new APIs are coming out like Material, and we're really wanting to let users know about, new apps for those, either wearables or auto or things that use Material. We're building collections for those. We definitely go hunting for games that showcase those things.
Okay, I'm thinking that a feature position on a major distribution platform can sometimes make or break a game. Do you guys have any examples that you can share of when this has gone extremely well, or perhaps failures that maybe we can learn from?
Sure, I'm going to speak to any example, even though I'm no longer there. I guess actually, I'll ask out the audience here. How long has Clash of Clans or Haiti been on the top of the 25 on the Apple charts, do you think? How many years? Over 2 years. I bought a studio for EA in Canada that made a game called Simpsons Tapped Out. That game was on top of the charts for over 2 years as well. The titles on the top 25 aren't fluctuating as much as we'd ideally like. Frankly, in the old world of console, Battlefield, Need for Speed, Call of Duty, they would only stay up on the charts for a year at Walmart, Best Buy, and Target. These games are staying up for years. Having that ability to be discovered, to get that featuring, that experience is incredibly important. We launched a game Simpsons tapped out. It went up to the top of the charts. We got great featuring. It was a branded IP. I'm sure many of you are doing licenses right now. I think 2015 will be a year of quite a few licenses. Went up to the top of the charts. There's also a downside to getting the featuring. If you go with a partner and you do a very good job or convince the partner that they should profile your game, you better make sure that game stands up. Many of you will know that when Simpsons launched, it melted. So many users came on board, it just melted the servers. The game cratered, the experience was terrible. You can well imagine what the relationship with Apple would be after something like that. And having to take the game down, fix it up, work your way back up, an immensely trying experience, right? So the upside of featuring, the upside of convincing someone from the major platforms to take on your game and showcase to the world, great for the downloads. The downside, if you fail, you're going to have to live with them for a long time, and they're going to be very unhappy with you for a while. So.
Actually, on that note, we get a lot of requests on, we're launching, can we feature on the day of launch? And we typically, don't recommend that for the simple reason that you want to give it time to iron out the kinks and to be able to, otherwise, if you have a ton of negative ratings because of some problem, then it's really hard to climb out of that hole. By the way, how many people here use alpha and beta testing in Google Play when they're launching their game on Play? And so for those who may not be aware, so we offer alpha and beta testing as a way to, for a trusted network of your users to be able to, launch the game to them, have them play it, give you feedback, iron out the kinks, without them being able to leave a rating or review that's going to negatively affect that. And so that's one way, and that plus staged rollout, where you roll out a new feature to a very small percentage of the user base, is a way to manage the process without getting your rating hammered because there was some problem.
Yeah, from our perspective, our latest game is been tremendously successful for us, which is Marvel Contest of Champions, and it's a superb brand, and we may touch on that later. But the testing bit's really, really important, and I think also you notice, I think, through the questions that we've had so far and that we've been answering, we're using the P word an awful lot, and that's really, really important. Partnership is what it is. And we really need to remember that when you're dealing with Google and Apple, that these guys are partners to you for you to be successful. So we always try to involve them as much as possible at the early stages with our games, so we can get illicit feedback and direction. We may not necessarily always take it on board, but we always want to try and make sure that the partner that's going to really help us be successful is on board as much as possible.
Look, I'll tell you, when I spend time looking to buy companies or invest, the first thing I ask the heads of studios, who's your relationship at Apple and Google? If they say they don't know anyone, they can't name who they talk to, it's a bit concerning. If I'm looking for independent, self-sustaining studios, it is an important part of success in the world today, for better or for worse.
I think, again, I've got to be absolutely fair to them as well, is that they tend to be quite tightly run teams as well within these key platform partners. So they're not going to expect or want everybody to phone them up every minute of the day. That would be bad. So you've got to be smart about this. You've really got to think, as I say, what's in it for them? How do I create a campaign to work with this partner to make sure that I get the best value for me and for them?
Again, I'll come back to a question I asked earlier, because I was speaking to a small developer this morning. They managed to get a contact at the Apple Store, the Apple platform, through Peter Molyneux, who then mentioned them to someone else and then passed them on an email. And that helped them build a relationship. And they were shocked to find out that there were actually people at the other end of the platform, that a lady called Sandra actually emailed them back, actually phoned them up and spoke to them. They were quite taken aback by this. But again, as a first-time developer, as a small developer, where are those points of contact?
I can't help you with that one. I mean, we key partners. We've invested a lot of time and money. We've got a lot of effort and resource behind working with our partners, and we're very happy to talk with key developers out there who may want to utilize our network. But it's something that takes a long time to build, to invest in, and to make happen.
From a Google Play perspective, Shazia, I mean, if people are sending a speculative email out, what sort of details do they need to include? What sort of information do they need to give to expect a personal response to it?
Yeah, so I think part of what we and Google Play specifically we really believe in is creating, sort of enabling a lot of sustainable businesses on the platform. And so what other things we can do for that? So obviously we have top partners we work with, but we also want to enable that next generation and sort of all the levels below. As you guys can imagine, it's probably, we are a very, very small team. I think Play specifically is smaller than some of the, anecdotally, what I've heard from other platforms. And so we try to, also create these sort of one-to-many opportunities where we get as much information out there through our, website, through our, I guess publications, events, etc. And by the way, on that note, as you quick reminder as you guys leave, I have a developer handbook on how to achieve success on Google Play, which hopefully will be helpful. But we try and package. Google is all about automation and scale, right, if you think about the company. So same way at Play, we try and package the learnings that we get to try and disseminate them, not just to our top partners, but to as many partners as we can. So, we try and do events with partners. We try and do hangouts on air where multiple partners can attend. We also try to, put as much stuff we can on the website. In terms of one-to-one contact, there's also timing in a relationship, which is at this point in time, let's say maybe you want something from Play and that's not something we're looking for. But maybe, just X months down the road, it could be something that we're totally focusing on. And we will find a way to find you, especially as I come back to if you have this quality game or app or what have you that, we see that users are excited about and that you're investing a lot of effort in, we will come and sort of find you at that time. So there's also a timing component to building a relationship.
Andrew Stalbo of Seriously, previously of Rovio, recently said that he thinks it's now impossible for anybody anywhere to have an overnight success, citing the huge marketing spend by big players like King. Would you guys agree?
I kind of do and I kind of don't. I think there's opportunity on these platforms. You look at games like Monument Valley. I mean, that's no brand at all attached to that, and yet that's been a massive success because they came at it from a different angle, something that hadn't been done before, something unique, looked beautiful, a premium app, but that's done really, really well for them. So it's not all about just launching using a big brand, although clearly that is massively advantageous for a whole heap of reasons. And it's certainly, Kabam have certainly got involved with working with all the major studios, film studios with IP games, and it's something which is, another route to market. So I wouldn't necessarily say that unless you spend big bucks, you can't have a big win. But it also depends on what sort of, what a win is to you as a developer or a publisher out there. Is featuring is actually a scale. The number one corner slot is rarely given out, but there can be other featuring opportunities that may suit your business that would be a massive success for you guys. So it's not a I don't think as an answer it's there's just one version of that, if that makes sense. Would you agree with that?
Michael?
Yeah, I'd frankly mention that while we talk about featuring and the importance of that, it's not the end-all be-all. I think many of us out here have seen or played the Vainglory MOBA. Think about the immense amount of free advertising that Apple put up for that title. You see them on every TV commercial for the new iPhone 6, right? You had famous actors, Justin Timberlake, talking about how they're playing the game. Yet, they got the early downloads. It didn't necessarily drive immediate success. Perhaps it's something they'll build up over time. It's an important aspect, but it's not the only aspect for creating success.
And I think from a platform perspective, some of the areas we invest in, which may not be kind of app and game specific, but are also things to help the platform in general. For example, payments, carrier billing, payment through PayPal, gift cards, working on those. Also personalization to bring more and more relevant search results to each individual user. So trying to do things that attract that make it easier for not just to bring traffic to the site through a lot of marketing campaigns as well, but also through when users on the site help them actually complete that download or purchase. So we also invest a lot in not just apps and games, but in getting more users, which then disproportionately helps out smaller developers who may not have that marketing budget.
So to round things up, as the mobile market saturates, what would you say is the one key takeaway for developers to help them stand out and find success?
I'm going to come back to quality, like a really high quality app or game. Some of us remember Flappy Bird and how it took sort of everyone by storm. It's really not about the budget. If you have something that really is quality that people are excited about, and you have a user base that you're building through organic channels, through social channels, I think that is the most important thing, and everything else follows from that.
Yeah, I mean, Kabam worked with 5 major film studios. We've got some tremendous brands on our roster, like the Marvel game, which I'm sure you're all playing and find fantastically enjoyable. Lots of nodding heads, that's great. But we still got to make a great game. You can have a great brand, but you've still got to make a great game. So this is nothing new. You know this, you hear this a lot. It really, the quality piece is, and the angle you come at the market really is key.
This is a world of fewer, bigger, better. Some studios these days are starting to spend 2 years, 40, 50, 60 people, paying for expensive licenses, pouring in a lot of heavy art and music and gameplay testing into the new products here. In order to displace the leaders in the top 25, the top 50, to really make the money that matters, you're going to have to invest a lot of time, a lot of effort, quality, combination of featuring the hardware. To be frank, there's a lot of very profitable games in the casino world. When's the last time you've seen a casino game featured by Apple? I've never seen it, right? So it doesn't mean that the featurers or the editorial staff are focused just on what they think will make money from the software side or the 30% tax that the platforms take off of studios. Featuring the hardware is incredibly important as well. But at the end of the day, discovery, rising above the noise, because there are so many apps being created, it is so tough to displace the top 25, top 50. If you're going to play to win, because that's where you're going to make the money.
Thank you very much. We'll throw it open to questions if anyone's got any questions in the audience. Okay then, thanks very much for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening.